The Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series has brought the business of speed to West Virginia Motor Speedway. And the $90,000 purse has them coming down from the hill as Ford Heavy Trucks brings you the action. Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series television is brought to you by Ford Heavy Trucks, maker of the all-new Aeromax and Louisville Truck Series. Together, we can run the country. And by the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series, America's biggest dirt track late model series. The Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series has gone north of the Mason-Dixon line for the King of the Mountain 100, the big race coming to West Virginia Motor Speedway. And it's $25,000 to the winner. Hello, race fans. This is Trace Ali, along with Kevin Billingsley. And the eternal problem of how to get all that horsepower down on the track to work best is even bigger than ever here.
I think they've outguessed themselves. A lot of the drivers are coming to a track that's a little bit larger than normal. It's 5/8 of a mile with long straightaways, and they thought, well, if we're going to a big track, we've got to have a lot of horsepower. We're going to go with a big motor. Not necessarily the best thing, because with a bigger motor, they have to run more weight, and the cars are spinning in the turns. The guys with the smaller motors are finding it a little bit easier to get out of the turn.
So that makes playing the tire game a wholly different game, but either way, small or large, they're going 135 miles per hour plus on these straightaways, Kevin.
Yeah, and 5 guys who've run fast all year, the top 5 in the point standings in the Hav-A-Tampa Championship hunt. We talked to them earlier today on how the first 10 races have gone.
Billy Moyer Jr. sits alone at the top of the points for the national championship of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series. He's done so with a crew that gets better every year.
At this point in the year, do you think much about the championship? Is it way too early for us to be talking about that?
It's way too early. I mean, it's in the back of all of our minds, I guess, but, you know, we just take each race, you know, week by week and try and do the best we can do. You know, it'd be nice to win it. This point thing, I've not, you know, got myself involved in that before. I have, you know, years back, but here recently, the last 2 or 3 years, I just always ran where the money was the best, and, you know, for the miles we had to travel or whatever, and never got into the point thing. But I'm just trying to go at it the same way as I always have, and let things fall how they will. I think, you know, I think you get too involved in that point thing, trying to do every little thing, worrying about points. You know, I think that it messes up your overall, you know, performance, and we're just going to try and, you know, do the best we can do, and, you know, week to week, and hope for the best at the end.
With 2 wins in 1997, 1996 Hav-A-Tampa Series shootout winner Wendell Wallace thinks improvement for his Monday trucking racing team is still underway.
Yeah, right now, you know, it seems like we've turned things around, and we've had some pretty good runs here lately. We won last weekend, and, you know, that helps out and motivates everything. So right now, things are kind of going our way.
Do you think about the championship, 10 races into it?
Not really. You know, right now we're just kind of racing, and you do kind of look at it in the long run, but, you know, we just try to race and finish every race and run as good as we can, and, you know, let the points fall wherever it's going to fall.
Running this year has been a bit of a challenge to you. You started from such a far back in the pack last year, and you came all the way to the front. This year, you were kind of at the front, and you're fighting to stay there, but you seem to be going back in that direction as you defend your title.
Well, you know, we're hoping to. We had a rough 3 weeks there, and like I say, we had this car last week. The car fell awful good, and, you know, we're just hoping it'll bring us back out of the ballpark. Our other car is a real good race car. You know, we had to... You know, we just didn't get the setups on some of the race tracks that we ran on very good, and we feel like this car right here is going to be better.
Does it mean something special to drive a car, the 1000th car by the manufacturer, with as many races as you run in your lifetime? Is there some continuity to you? Does it feel good?
Well, you know, it makes us feel good that we've got the 1000th car out at the UDTRA. We ran the car last weekend, and the car really felt good, so we brought it back for this weekend, hoping it will really do good here.
In GRT's race car number 1000, Freddie Smith defends his 96 Series championship. Smith, as well as other GRT race car drivers, provide the input that Joe Garrison uses for engineering development. Major changes underway, or is it really a process of just step by step, little by little alterations occur and things just keep changing over the long period?
Yeah, it's just basically changing little by little, because if you make drastic changes, then you get away from what you was doing, so you do a little at a time and kind of stay in the ballpark and see what small improvements will make to the car. The drivers have to go out and do what they think's best and fine-tune it to their driving style. But yes, that's the way we learn and make a good production car that's basically fast right out of the box.
So there you have it, the thoughts from the top three in the current points race with Moyer, Wallace, and Smith, but there's more to come.
And we'll be talking to those guys when we come back, but first, these messages from the sponsors of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series, including Ford Heavy Trucks. Back with more in a moment from West Virginia Motor Speedway. To West Virginia Motor Speedway here in Mineral Wells, and of course we were talking just a little bit before the break with the top three guys in the national points chase, but now there's a couple more guys to talk about, a couple other standouts.
Yeah, Donnie Moran, always a favorite in the Midwest area, picked up one Hav-A-Tampa win so far this year, and currently fifth in the point standings, Dale McDowell, the second part of that O.J. Monday trucking team.
Sitting in fourth, popular driver from Ohio, Donnie Moran knows the way to the top is to get past Billy Moyer.
We're fourth right now, and, you know, if you take everything on perspective, you really need to be first. But, you know, that hasn't happened. We've had a few good runs, had a couple of DNFs, and we're just taking it as it goes, and, you know, hopefully we have a good run tonight. You know, you look in the past, Billy, he's won a lot of races. You know, he's used to winning 20, 30 races a year. You know, probably one of the most feature wins of anybody, you know, in the past 10 years, he's probably got the most. So a lot of it depends, you know, how his luck holds out. You know, we've run pretty good this year, and like we had a couple starting on the pole, and, you know, we wasn't able to leave our pits, our car broke, and we never got to finish or start, and had 3 DNFs in a row, and you know, that killed us, but, you know, we're just keep plugging away.
After teaming up this season with Monday Trucking, Dale McDowell in the 17M car has all the other leaders looking for him in their rearview mirrors.
Well, you know, us following the series and everything, you know, and everything being based out of the Southeast, but it's so different when we come up in this area. In a couple of weeks when we go to Eldora for the Dream, you know, I've been up there 3 times and not made the show yet, you know, so each time I go, I'm learning a little bit, but I just think it takes, you know, it's going to take a few trips to get the right combinations. And like the competitive level that it's at now, I mean, it's really tough. You don't have to be off very far, you know, to not be in a show anymore. So, you know, we're looking forward to learning these northern tracks, you know, and racing with the different guys. These guys have the same trouble. I believe I recall an interview with Donnie where he said, you know, when he was having trouble with us in the Southeast, and then we get up here, and I mean, that guy's on the front row, you know. So it's I think they have the same problem. It's just kind of the tables are turned, and we're up here now, and a lot of the Hav-A-Tampa guys aren't up as far as they'd like to be.
The top 5 are followed closely by Clint Smith in 6th, a past champion, and in 7th is Steve Russell.
Steve Russell, what a story. Originally 23rd when the season began. Few races later, he moved up and now currently sits 7th in the points. Racing out of Tupelo, Mississippi for Wayman Gibson. That entire team is really fired up about the progress of this one as they go forward in the Hav-A-Tampa competition this year.
And you talk about fired up. They were firing it up here last night during the heat races. 4 heat races, the top 4 from each transferred into the feature. Let's take a look back at the action.
Starting inside row number 2, Billy Moyer on an inverted heat race start, started 3rd and quickly was in a battle with a 31 car of Georgetown's Skip Art as he battled to move into 2nd with a smooth move through turn 3 and 4. Up ahead, Todd Andrews would lead the pair as they continued their race for 12 laps in the first heat, and Moyer would come in 2nd to Andrews, finishing 1st in that heat and thus establishing himself on the pole for the race tonight. In the next heat, it was a battle royal as the 19 car of Gary Stuhler went to work immediately on the 15 car of Steve Francis. A huge battle on the back straightaway with 140-mile-an-hour speeds going on. But up ahead, Donnie Moran ran free and won heat race number 2, putting himself on the outside of the pole for tonight's King of the Mountain 100. Heat race number 3 full of action immediately as the B4 car of Jack Boggs began to work the inside of the 7 car of Earl Pearson Jr. Outside, Bob Pierce tried to stay up there, but a magnificent move by the B4 car of Jack Boggs put everybody back. Everybody held their breath while Jack fought to the outside, and this time took it away even from Pearson, who had earlier not allowed him to go inside. Now in second, Jack Boggs runs to the inside in turn 4, getting a little bit sideways next to the 1J car of Davy Johnson. And Davy Johnson from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, will continue his run and win heat race number 3, with Boggs finally finishing second. A great effort all the way around the racetrack. The 6M car of Wendell Wallace, currently third in the points, battles with Ashflat, Arkansas's David Gibson in the G2 car, both working separate lines. The middle line, of course, belonging to the 6M car, while the G2 car works the high side, both trying to avoid the slippery oil that had been let down earlier on the racetrack. But up ahead, it was Parkersburg, West Virginia's Steve Shaver in the 30 car that ran to the front and kept it all the way to the end to win heat race number 4. And thus sets up Todd Andrews on the pole with Donnie Moran on the outside, Davy Johnson and Steve Shaver on the second row.
So just like everybody expected, the heat races had a lot of speed. The guys were stretching it out a little bit, and still the motor combinations are still a question. But the most interesting thing, how they inverted the top 4 in each heat.
And it just changed everything. And, of course, it'll go right down to the wire again tonight, right down to the drop of the green flag. When we come back for the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series, we look at the top 24 as they line up to win the King of the Mountain 100 and $25,000. More action ahead. Race fans from around West Virginia and all over America have come to West Virginia Motor Speedway as race number 11 of the 32 race series for 1997 of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series is about to get underway at West Virginia. Kevin Billingsley along with Trace Ali. Let's take a look at the lineup tonight. On the pole position, row number 1, it's Todd Andrews in the 42 car. You see him right there behind the Pace truck. He's from Duke Center, Pennsylvania, driving a Ford Mustang, the 42 car. Outside, it's Donnie Moran. Definitely a fan favorite and a big winner the last few weeks in a number of races from Dresden, Ohio in the 99 blue and white Masters build. Inside row number 2, Davy Johnson from Greensburg, Pennsylvania in the 1J car. Outside, Steve Schaefer from Parkersburg, West Virginia in the 30 car, yellow Rayburn chassis.
On the inside of row number 3, it's Billy Moyer from Batesville, Arkansas, the defending King of the Mountain champion. He has 5 career wins in Hav-A-Tampa Racing, 3 this season. Steve Francis sits on the outside of row number 3, driving the number 15 car. Steve is from Ashland, Kentucky. In the B4 ride, a Camaro, it's Jack Boggs of Grayson, Kentucky. And on the outside of row 4, it's Wendell Wallace from Batesville, Arkansas. 2 victories this season. One in Cordell, Georgia, the other in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
In row number 5, it's Bart Hardman in the 75 yellow car from Zanesville, Ohio. The outside, it's 19, the 19 car of Gary Stuhler from Greencastle, Pennsylvania. Inside row number 6, Mike Balzano from Parkersburg, West Virginia in the E1 white car. It's a rocket chassis. And in outside row 6, it's G2 David Gibson in the yellow-blue GRT from Ashflat, Arkansas.
Row number 7 will have a couple of teammates, sponsored by Kristenberry Trucking. It's Skip Arp at the number 31, the 00 Freddie Smith from Knoxville, Tennessee. On row number 8, it's Bob Pierce of Danville, Illinois, driving a Camaro. On the outside of row 8, number 24, Rick Eckert of York, Pennsylvania.
4 wide down the front straightaway. It's the traditional Hav-A-Tampa start, waving to the fans. Inside row number 9, it'll be Scott Bloomquist, former series champion in the 18 car from Mooresburg, Tennessee. Outside on row 9, it's Tim Hitt, I'm sorry, in the 68 car from Weston, West Virginia. And inside row 10, Earl Pearson Jr. in the 7 car from Jacksonville, Florida. And outside him from Chattanooga, Tennessee, the 5 car with Ronnie Johnson.
On row number 11, C.S. Fitzgerald of Lexington, Virginia, in the 100 car, Gar Dixon out of Flintstone, Georgia, number 60. Now taking provisionals tonight, Dell McDowell out of Rossville, Georgia, in the number 17 Monday Trucking Chevrolet. Clint Smith also with the provisional, driving the number 1 car. And from Ravenswood, West Virginia, with the promoter's option spot, number 32 is Scott Hartley.
On a track this size, 5/8 of a mile, of course, it takes them a little longer to get around, but believe me, they're about to get started with plenty of speed here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. King of the Mountain offers $25,000 to the winner,
which is about $10,000 more than the normal winner's check for a Hav-A-Tampa race. They kicked in an extra 10 grand. I tell you what, the people have turned out for this race. A great crowd tonight.
Looks like well over or close to 5,000 people here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. A great night for racing. The weather's actually turned off rather nice. It's not too hot, and so far, not too cool. The action's just about to get underway. Will Donnie Moran make a fast dive off the outside of the front position, off the number 2 spot, off the pole? That's going to be the big story right away here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. We're about to find out. 2 wide, they'll line them up, and of course, Hav-A-Tampa rules state the car on the pole is the one that actually makes the whole race start as he crosses the first of 2 white lines coming out of turn 4. He'll be the first to accelerate once the green flag is given and conditions are correct for everybody to go to the race. It'll be time to go, and it'll be up to Todd Andrews to cut it loose and make it happen. We're approaching that moment as the race fans stand up, give them a big wave, and get excited as we all stand by, waiting for the moment, and here it is. Todd Andrews takes off with a roar of Hav-A-Tampa horsepower rushing up to the crowd at West Virginia Motor Speedway.
Billy Moyer was on the inside, and you can see where the tires were spinning. He was wiggly right off the start.
Todd Andrews is just barely holding off. Donnie Moran just shot past him there out in turn 3, staying a little to the high side, sliding and fighting to hold the bite on the high side. Todd Andrews still hanging with him as they go down the front straightaway, but Donnie Moran has definitely moved himself to the front. Now takes over the lead going through turn 1 and 2 as they enter into the second lap here at West Virginia Motor Speedway.
And Todd Andrews knew he had to hold off Donnie Moran in the early going, or he said this guy can run away with the race. 2 career wins in Hav-A-Tampa racing. Donnie Moran coming out of turn 4, heading toward the flag stand down the middle of the front stretch at about 130 miles an hour.
Behind them, the field is stacking up. Billy Moyer just to the left of your screen there for a moment. The rest of the cars bouncing through turn 1, all working on different kinds of spring combinations tonight, trying to make it right. Steve Francis fighting hard there to hold off the 30 car of Steve Schaefer as both of them battle side by side down the front straightaway, diving deep into turn 3 and continuing their fight through turn 4.
Now, Schaefer is a guy who won 6 races on this track last year alone, so he certainly knows what's going on as you see the guys going into turn 1 where it's just a tad dusty.
Bob Pierce in the 32 car there, Kevin, still trying to hang in there with the 68 car.
Yeah, Tim Hitt started on row number 9 in the 68 car. Bob Pierce trying to make his way up through the pack. And the number 7 car that you see there is that of Earl Pearson Jr. out of Jacksonville, Florida, getting passed on the low side by the number 15 car, driven tonight by Steve Francis.
That's right, Steve Francis just got around Todd Andrews. Todd Andrews started on the pole and has continued to go backwards in the race as Steve Francis is the next one to go past him. Jack Boggs in the B4 car, who has been running 5th, is now on the inside trying to move up. Moyer has gone up to 5th, and Jack Boggs all over the back end there of the 42 car of Todd Andrews, about to give him a demonstration in some of that Kentucky fly kind of attitude. There he goes to the inside, getting just ever so close, within a foot or 2 of each other, but Boggs holds his own and keeps the grip on the car, keeps it on the track, and now definitely has scored that position away from the 42 car. Bart Hartman coming up on the inside.
Todd Andrews started on the pole. He's dropped back to 5th as you see Boggs going back into the moving up to the 4th place spot. But it looks like Andrews is having a handful, especially in the turns, riding up high. The 75 car of Bart Hartman drag racing down the straight, trying to grab that 5th spot, and he does.
Billy Moyer apparently is up all the way to 2nd, and right now we just saw for a moment on there Donnie Moran putting the punch on the Clint Smith car, just about to pull up and lap him. David Gibson fighting on the front straightaway. The G2 car has action behind him. We have a car sliding and losing control. Clint Smith has apparently lost the steering control, or the engine's gone dead on him as he slides to a stop, resting with the rear end of the car up against the inside retaining wall here on the front straightaway. The Dunn Benson Ford definitely stopped. That brings out the caution flag, the first one so far in the race tonight. Of course, that's after 21 laps of racing. 21 laps of the King of the Mountain 100 so far, Kevin. We'll be back with more of the action in a minute. We'll kind of regroup and get all these guys lined up and give you a update on the standings of the top 10 when we return with more of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series action brought to you by Ford Heavy Trucks. the number 53 car, Ray Cook's competitive strength comes from his Ford engine program, beginning with Ernie Elliott and continuing with Jack Cornett.
The difference between Ernie Elliott and Jack Cornett is the background history over the years. Ernie has developed a lot of technology through Winston Cup as to making motors live for 500-600 miles. They got a lot heavier parts in them a lot of times, where Jack has based a lot of his knowledge, Cornett, out of the dirt track racing, shorter races, making more horsepower for short distances. You know, they're not, he don't build them necessarily to run 500 miles all day long. Ernie takes a lot more preparation in the motor as far as, you might say, defensive work. I mean, he does stuff to prevent things from happening. A lot of little things that engine builders sometimes don't do, and a lot of them feel like it's not a necessity on the dirt track. But we're running 100-lap races every week, and I think that I put more laps on my engine that Ernie built than anybody in the pits puts on theirs. We run about 1,600 laps before anybody freshens it. And I think most people run around 1,000, 1,200. So, you know, that's the difference. It lets us run it longer without having to freshen it up as often.
No one's ever built a truck like this before. Over 50 dedicated engineers have been working with more than 5,000 trucking professionals for more than 3 years, just to make one person happy. Introducing the all-new Ford Aeromax. We changed everything but the handle. Together, we can run the country.
Welcome back to West Virginia Motor Speedway. King of the Mountain 100 underway. 22 laps. We reported 21 going into the break, but it's 22 laps old into the race tonight for $25,000. Let's take a look at our top 10 update on who's out there. Brought to you by Iskey Racing Cans. Race with a legend.
Donnie Moran's currently your leader. Billy Moyer in second place. Steve Francis in third. Jack Boggs moving quickly. He's currently fourth. Bart Hartman is fifth. 6 through 10 has Todd Andrews, Wendell Wallace, Steve Shaver, Gary Stuhler, and Mike Balzano.
And the man of the hour, of course, as we said earlier on in the telecast, we thought this man right here, the 99 car, would be the guy that would be full of get-go, and he was at the beginning of the race. It took him just barely a lap to get around Todd Andrews, and now a jump is made there momentarily by the 21 car that looked like he might make the move. Now Billy Moyer working to the high side of turn 2 has found himself with a Steve Francis car just briefly under him there in turn 2, and down the front straightaway it looks like Moran has added up 5 car lengths to that lead again.
There you see Bart Hartman trying on the inside of Jack Boggs. Is it going to work? Not this time, as Boggs hangs on to his fourth spot. Hartman will have to settle for fifth as they complete lap number 23.
Boggs started 7th. He's all the way up to 4th and seems to have a pretty good handle on the race car tonight. He's driving that white Masters belt, the V4 car. Hasn't tasted victory lately, but it's about time. And we could see Jack Boggs very competitive as the race goes on, as always.
Billy Moyer getting his rear view mirror full of Steve Francis as they go down the front stretch and into turn number 1. Francis going way low. There you see Jack Boggs trying to hang on to Francis, but they're going to start spacing each other apart as they go down the back stretch. That's Billy Moyer driving the 21 car. 3 wins so far this season on the Hav-A-Tampa series after just 10 races.
Skip Barb making quite a battle there. Catches a little bit of that low, messed up low side there on turn 2, but gets inside Shaver and apparently now has worked the position to his advantage, and going into turn 3 seems to have him. Looks like he is going to hold. Will come out of turn 4 and will move up on that spot with Shaver now behind him, now going to the inside, giving it plenty of what for and lots of power and speed. Going back down on the inside on the low side, but again Skip Barb's got it, but we've got a caution flag. We've got a caution flag on the racetrack. We're looking for evidence of what that might be. In turn 2, it looks like we got a car out there against the wall. It's Davey Johnson from, of course, Greensburg, Pennsylvania, in the 1J car. We don't know quite what's up with his car yet. We don't know if it's a loss of power or whether something just simply broke and he can't steer the car away.
Davey started third when tonight's race was underway, but obviously he has the power going. I think he just came out of the turn just a little bit hard. You know, the best race that we've been covering so far is that of Steve Shaver and of the 31 car of Skip Arp, and they've been battling back and forth all night.
Great action there for sure. As we watch Davey Johnson, we'll take another break here. This Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series television coverage of the King of the Mountain 100 continues from West Virginia Motor Speedway. We'll be back in a moment. Returning to West Virginia Motor Speedway, this is Trace Ali along with Kevin Billingsley. West Virginia hosting tonight King of the Mountain 100. $25,000 going to the winner of this 11th of the 32 races for the 1997 Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series. Kevin, we've seen some pretty good action here so far, and of course this gentleman here, we're watching our screen, 17N Dale McDowell, trying to fight his way forward. Seems to be making a little progress.
Well, you know, Dale took a provisional, and he's one of these guys that he's been fighting that tire bug. He has not been able to figure it out, just like a lot of the guys out there, and he has been able to keep the handle on that car.
And behind him, the 100 car. C.S. Fitzgerald making a return to the Hav-A-Tampa Series. Very active in the 1995 season, backed off a little in 96, and seems to be coming back. In fact, he told me he's got a new transporter, and he's about to get a second car and get back into the action with the Hav-A-Tampa Series. You see them coming down the front straightaway, and your leader, as we just dissolved to that shot, that's the 99 car of Dresden, Ohio's none other, Donnie Moran. He looks like the guy to beat all the way around the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, and the reason that we haven't seen a lot of Donnie, he hasn't been, you know, battling with a lot of people. I actually, you know, the best action is that from Skip Arp and
don't hate me because I'm really fast and I'm out front.
You know, absolutely.
Donnie Moran is about ready to start this race. Here we go again. He comes down the front straightaway. Moyer working a little to the outside, trying to get a little bit of nose into the backside there of Moran and try to push him off, but it doesn't work. Moyer again continues on the higher side of turn 2. Plenty of speed for both of those cars. Pretty equally matched all the way down the back straightaway here at West Virginia Motor Speedway.
Scott Bloomquist fighting with the E1 car. Almost looks like a 4, folks, but that's an E1 driven by...
should be Balzano, I believe.
Balzano, yes.
Mike Balzano. One of 2 drivers out of Parkersburg, West Virginia tonight. Steve Shaver running in 8th as the other Parkersburg driver. Here's David Gibson in the G2 car on the high side, fighting with, of course, Bob Pierce. Pierce trying to make that move, and as we said, Scott Hartley in the blue 32, also trying to go with him as the 2 pursue the G2 car.
38 laps now in the books as this particular battle comes out of turn number 2 and heads down the backstretch. G2 is in the lead. David Gibson not in the lead of the race, but that's the man in the lead with the lead. Donnie Moran out of Dresden, Ohio. And you know what? Donnie's getting awfully close to start lapping some of these cars, including the likes of Guard Dixon, I think is next on the list to be lapped.
And I would say from second on back with Billy Moyer, every single other driver of the 24-car field tonight is wondering, what is that tire combination?
You know what?
that Donnie Moran is running.
They'll find out just as soon as this race is over.
He'll be glad to inform them.
Absolutely. He'll tell them exactly.
He'll bring them up to speed, so to speak. Donnie Moran looking beautiful out there. Steve Francis, of course, running in 3rd. He's also doing a great job here tonight. A fantastic effort, as a matter of fact. And here we go. Scott Bloomquist now to the inside of Mike Balzano. Nice little race down the back straightaway. Plenty of fender to fender, almost touching. Are they going to get into each other? It looks like no. Balzano did a fantastic job of holding the groove on the high side. Bloomquist could have just about touched him. He could have just about grabbed him, but all of a sudden, here he comes. He holds him off, and Scott Bloomquist has to slide back to the inside once again.
Bloomquist is going to try to go to the inside. It's not going to work. As you see, Balzano grabbing the outside line, getting a good jump.
Donnie Moran, his family and his crew, everybody working and supporting this guy, going through the tough times they had here at the early part of the year. Well, they just couldn't quite get around so many of the mechanical bugs that just absolutely stopped the car when it was perfect.
Well, he's certainly been fast the last few races. This is the 11th race so far on the Hav-A-Tampa Series. And as the season has gone on, that car has gotten faster and faster. But there's not a lot you can do with a lot of mechanical bugs. Those things are going to happen.
And let's not forget, just 2 weeks before this particular race, Donnie Moran was the winner there and won the Hav-A-Tampa Series race.
Billy Moyer with 3 wins so far this season. As I mentioned, 5 career wins wins, all 5 coming in the last 2 years. And Moyer currently the leader in the Hav-A-Tampa points chase. And I don't think a second-place finish is going to be that bad for his points, but he sure would like to finish up first as he just passed Scott Bloomquist.
The number of wins, of course, you're referring to in the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series. He's got quite a few other wins, actually.
Yeah. But all we talk about here is Hav-A-Tampa.
Oh, okay. That's all we talk about.
Absolutely.
That's because the action's so good. We've got smoke coming out of Hartley's car. Not a good sign. He's losing ground, no question about it. He's lost something in that motor and is sliding off the base. Now we've got some sparks coming out of the car. I'm not sure if he's dragging part of the car or that's just something coming off the engine. Bart Hartman's on the inside of him trying to avoid whatever that problem is.
I think that may have been rear end grease that started burning early, and I think the sparks you see may be coming from the rear end.
Unfortunately, they're letting him stay on the racetrack, which is not good for him or the rest of the crew. I hope they bring out the caution soon and make him move over or down off the racetrack. That's not a good sign. There's got to be some oil coming out.
Yeah, the key thing will be any kind of fluid on the track, and this is a guy that would certainly, I think, hate to see fluid on the track, and he would hate to see a caution because, quite honestly, he would like to keep that lead and keep stretching it out with just 23 laps to go as he comes around and finishes off lap number 78 is now in the book, and they only have 22 laps to go.
Moran continues to just walk freely like King Kong anywhere he wants to on that racetrack. He bites the track perfectly and makes everything just wallow behind him.
Well, you have to wonder when the Hartley car is going to expire as it continues to smoke going into turn 1 and through number 2. And I think it may have just expired. I think we've just witnessed expiration of a vehicle.
And a reminder, if you like Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Series racing, the biggest ticket for the series comes up June 21st and June 22nd. As the Hav-A-Tampa Series does double duty in Georgia. First on Saturday night at Dixie Speedway, and then Sunday night just up the road at Rome Speedway. 2 full-length 100-lap racing feature nights and $120,000 in total purses. Call for reserved tickets at 770-926-5315. More racing action to come here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. We'll be back. Back to West Virginia Motor Speedway. The King of the Mountain 100 about to get restarted on lap 78. Donnie Moran's led every step of the way. 12 cars on the lead lap. The speed is up. The green flag flies. And Moyer again on the hunt in second place there. Chasing Donnie Moran, hoping that now's the time. Those tires and this car will take him past that number 99 car.
Well, Jack Boggs is going to go to the inside of Billy Moyer. It's not going to work, but on the outside of Boggs is the 75 car of Bart Hartman, who passed Steve Francis for 4th spot, by the way.
That's correct. Bart Hartman out of Zanesville, Ohio, one of 2 Ohio drivers. Of course, the one in the lead is from Dresden, Ohio. And in the middle, it's Batesville, Arkansas's 21 car of Billy Moyer and the B4 car of Jack Boggs now going to the inside of Moyer. Moyer's tires apparently need more laps to get the heat up because he doesn't have the traction right now, and the B4 of Boggs does. Boggs has gone to second. This is the biggest change in the race so far. After starting 7th, Boggs is now up to second and beginning to look like he could hunt down the 99. Moyer fighting very hard to keep Bart Hartman off of him now.
And right after Bart Hartman is Wendell Wallace, who moved into 5th place, passing Steve Francis. So the top 5 is getting juggled around a little bit. Then you see the 75 car going to the inside of Billy Moyer. Can Bart Hartman get the edge? Maybe not this time, but down the back stretch they go. Are they going to do it? As you see him drag race down into turn number 3. It's the 75 car, Bart Hartman, trying to get on the inside of Billy Moyer and grab that spot.
You can hear the thunder of those Chevy Camaros as they pound 8 cylinders hard against each other. Moyer got a little to the high side in 4th, almost up to the walls. You saw that dirt tail fly up in the air. And now for sure, Hartman is inside Moyer. Moyer has gone backwards since the restart from caution number 4.
And a couple of guys who are back in the pack. That was Scott Bloomquist giving Ronnie Johnson a little love tap, and Bloomquist came out of the throttle just a little bit. Now he's back in the throttle and going after Ronnie Johnson once again.
Old teammates Ronnie Johnson, Scott Bloomquist really not in the race as they fight in the back part of it. Wendell Wallace now coming up. Now Wendell Wallace is apparently chasing into 3rd, it looks like. But I'm sorry, make that 5th. Wendell Wallace is now up to 5th after being in 6th for a long time. Apparently has gotten around Steve Francis.
Right, he had passed Steve Francis about 3 laps ago. Now, once again, Billy Moore, you wonder if the tires are just getting thin on him. But you see his Batesville buddy trying to get to the inside and take over 4th spot.
The one that says, don't let him be called his brother-in-law, right? Yeah. Wendell Wallace in the 6M car. In the O.J. Mundy lead team car. Of course, Dale McDowell in the 17 fighting the good fight back there behind him. But Wendell Wallace definitely putting on a show as he chases after Billy Moyer as they enter turn 1. Look at the two of them bounce as they come off that little bump there going into turn 1. Many of the drivers say that's the place where you know to decelerate when you hit that bump.
Well, Billy Moyer did decelerate. One guy that has his foot to the floor the whole race long is, of course, our leader, Donnie Moran, who's trying to put some distance between himself and Jack Boggs, who moved into second with a pass about 3 laps ago against Bart Hartman. Boggs trying desperately to find a path around the way, but once about 5-6 laps after a caution and a restart gets started,
86 laps as Boggs continues to hunt for a look at first. Donnie Moran absolutely, though, just about picture perfect on the racetrack. He's made no mistake so far in 86, going into 87 laps, and has just been almost impossible to reel in. He's driving on another planet compared to everybody else.
It takes about 6 laps for him to open up the lead, and I think once the tires begin to start heating up, that's when his car is the best, and I think that was the case with Billy Moyer as well.
As referred to earlier, Donnie Moran, without question, has the tire combination, and everybody's going to go ask him what that was when this race is over. Bob Pearson, that black 32 car, still holding his own against the G2 car of David Gibson, to a veteran and a growing veteran. They're battling with each other in the back. Scott Bloomquist just ahead of him, as you see on the low side of your screen going into turn 1, and here come the cars behind.
These are one of the 2 of 12 cars on the lead lap right now. Bob Pearson, the G2 car of David Gibson, only 12 cars on the lead lap. That was as of the last caution flag, and that's the way it has been. You see 32 trying to get around Scott Bloomquist once again.
Scott Bloomquist is, of course, trying to make an issue of it, even though he's not had a great race so far. The 32 car, of course, behind him, though, is sticking it to the inside. Ooh, almost, and he does. He taps the lower left side of Bloomquist's car there for just a second. Pierce letting him know that as far as he's concerned, this race isn't over, and he's going to stick with it.
Yeah, 10
laps to go. 10 laps to go. Don Moran there looking very strong. He's got himself a position that is going to be almost impossible to stop, and there's no question. As you watch dirt track late model racing for a few years, you watch a car like this. Phrase used to be they're running on a rail. He's got it down so smoothly, so perfectly. He's absolutely on the top, and nobody at this point can catch him.
One guy fighting an ill-handling car is Dale McDowell, who has been struggling with this car all night long, or actually all weekend long, and he's getting up high in the groove there, going through the number 1 car of Clint Smith, trying to get around him, but a couple of laps ago he did get up high and just about lost the handle on that car.
Dale McDowell's first ever run is the one you're watching right now here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. First ever time Dale McDowell's been here, and he said, I said, Dale, what's the strategy here? He says, I don't know. I'm north of Kentucky. That's a problem for me.
Here's a battle for the lead. Jack Boggs getting up just a little bit closer to the race leader, Donnie Moran, and maybe he's just been waiting, saving the tires a little bit, although I don't know how much tires he saved by moving from the 4th row up, but with 7 laps to go, he's trying to get up there, but Moran, you think Moran toyed with him? I'm not sure.
I think he may be just holding back ever so slightly here. Moran has been so absolutely miraculous on the track, it's hard to believe he doesn't have a lot left in that race car, but then again, we'll get down there at the end, and I know he'll tell us a story about one of those tires that was just about to go away. Boggs looking very strong.
Boggs has put on a great effort tonight, a great show for the fans out here. He's making, actually, he is the only guy who's been able to get up close to Moran and possibly nudge him a little bit or get around him. As you see, I think Donnie Moran is just a little bit better everywhere on the track with the exception of turn 2, and I think that's where
Moran
catches up on him.
Moran lets him catch up a little in the turns, but as soon as you'll notice, every time they go into turn 2, Boggs gets loose again. Moran continues to stay rock steady on every single foot of that racetrack. He doesn't slip, he doesn't slide, makes virtually the same identical move, the same line every time he goes around. Boggs, again, chasing him down now as they come into turn 1 and 2. 96 laps done. We're on lap 97, and Moran again takes off out of turn 2, again demonstrating he's the master of turn 2, and Boggs slides backwards again about 6 or 7 car lengths.
Well, this is the point in the race where little gremlins start talking to you, and I think he's taking it very carefully, very cautiously in those turns, and they are slick. I mean, after 97 laps, any track's going to be a little bit slick. That's what he's doing, I think, is taking his time through the turns, and then, of course, in the straightaway, you'll see going down the back stretch. There you go.
There he goes again. There's that power. Like I say, he comes off turn 2, has the best momentum, and never loses speed. It's like he doesn't even lift on the accelerator all the way through that line. Boggs is kind of up and down, but will chase him down, but then he hit that back straightaway. 2 to go. Get the flag sign there. 2 to go as Moran looking 2 laps away from pay dirt for $25,000.
$25,000. That's not a bad weekend.
That's a good evening.
That's a good evening.
You're going to spend your time on Saturday night. Might as well pick up a check for that kind of money.
Oh.
Here comes Moran to the white flag. Jack Boggs will make one final attempt. Perhaps a futile one, but nevertheless has worked from 7th to 2nd, finding himself at least within eyesight of what Donnie Moran has seen ever since he took off on the first lap tonight here at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Is he the king of the mountain? Look at him dive into turn 3 and ask yourself the question, is there any way he cannot take this win? Here he goes out of turn 4, smooth as ever, down the front straightaway. Donnie Moran wins the King of the Mountain 100 at West Virginia Speedway, and a big favor with the crowd. Donnie Moran just absolutely had the car tonight as he took the 99 right on the middle of turn 2 from the first lap and ran with the lead.
Todd Andrews, the guy who started on the pole, said that would be a key. Could he hold off that of Moran? And he couldn't. Moran went on to win, finishing 2nd, and I think an impressive run was that of Jack Boggs in the B4 car of Jack Boggs, finishing up 2nd. In the 3rd spot was Bart Hartman. Billy Moyer ends up 4th, and Wendell Wallace 5th.
And, of course, there's Donnie Moran heading down inside the pit road there, heading to the scales to make it official that he's now the winner of tonight's huge race. Look at that.
Will he get waved through? That's the key here. Let's see if it's official.
Let's see.
And he's waiting on the wave.
Real important stuff these days. A lot of guys don't seem to make it past the scale. They do great on the racetrack.
But they're going to check.
Donnie Moran's being checked closely. The Hav-A-Tampa officials are talking to him.
Well, you know, a lot of these guys running the big motors. I also heard during dinner last night that a lot of them were talking about a large consumption of fuel with these big motors on a big track running so fast. A 100-lap race. And, of course, the weight, that's figured in the weight as well.
Hav-A-Tampa officials are talking to Donnie Moran, but apparently he's being cleared for the win and pulls away from the weight machine and has his win. What a night. Donnie Moran has himself a great victory, his 2nd Hav-A-Tampa Series victory for the year. And in a moment, we'll go down trackside and talk with tonight's winner of the King of the Mountain 100 of the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series. Driving the number 99 car for 100 laps in the lead, Donnie Moran from Dresden, Ohio, is tonight's King of the Mountain at West Virginia Motor Speedway. And with $25,000 in hand, he's in the winner's circle to talk about it with Jerry Albrecht.
What makes Donnie Moran run faster at West Virginia than the other guys that everybody watches, like Billy Moyer and Wendell and the rest of the guys that you compete against every week?
Well, you know, they've run good here, too. You know, Billy won this race last year. You know, Bart Hartman runs good here. Wendell runs good. You know, we just got things going our way right now. The Masterbuilt chassis is just working to perfection. GM Performance Parts, a new SB2 motor. I mean, it worked extremely well. You know, the Chevrolet put out a lot of power from Fisher Motorsports, and, you know, I can't say enough about it. I mean, it just really worked good.
And what about your crew? Your crew plays a big part in any race car. As a matter of fact, they're your right arm.
Yeah, Toma Johnson, he's our crew chief, and he does extremely good job. You know, my hat's off to him. You know, he did a fine job getting us all prepared for this. Casey's getting a lot of other things prepared too. And, you know, them two guys do a good job. We have some other people that helps us a little bit. And, you know, part of my family helps me, my wife, just everybody. It's a whole family deal. You know, we go at it extremely hard, and, you know, the hard work pays off.
I had a small motor because you get a little weight break. The tires is real, you know, real important. We took care of them pretty good, but we had plenty of tire left. We had plenty of fuel left. We was really heavier than what we needed to be, and I just found out that I was the only one in the top 6 that finished that had the small motors in. But we'll record this. I haven't raced here in quite a while, and I enjoyed the race real well, and Donnie's a super racer. You know, if I couldn't win it, I'm glad he did, but I wasn't going to just take him out or anything. We've raced together for hard telling how many years and laps, and I enjoyed the race real well, and the surface racetrack was super. You could pass if you were good. I just look forward to coming back again.
And although he finishes second, Jack Boggs takes away $10,000 tonight, following Donnie Moran in first with his $25,000. Bart Hartman finishes third after starting ninth tonight. Billy Moyer, as high as second, finishes fourth. Wendell Wallace in fifth, and Steve Francis out of Ashland, Kentucky, finishes sixth. In seventh, it was Todd Andrews who started on the pole. In eighth, Rick Eckert from York, Pennsylvania. Ninth was Gary Stuhler. 10th was Skip Arp. And 11th goes to Steve Shaver, and 12th to Mike Balzano, both from Parkersburg, West Virginia. In 13th, it was Ronnie Johnson from Chattanooga, followed by Scott Bloomquist, and only his second appearance with the Hav-A-Tampa Series so far this season. Then 15th was Bob Pierce, 16th David Gibson, 17th was Clint Smith, former champion, and defending champion Freddie Smith in 18th. In 19th, it was Dale McDowell, C.S. Fitzgerald, Gar Dixon, Scott Hartley, Tim Height, and Davey Johnson, and Earl Pearson Jr. finishing 25th. Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series Television is brought to you by Ford Heavy Trucks, maker of the all-new Aeromax and Louisville Truck Series. Together, we can run the country. And by the Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series, America's biggest dirt track late model series. A-Sports radio communications are provided by Team One Communications, a great way to hear the race. Call Team One for your own scanner. Long-distance telephone service provided to A-Sports by Taylor Communications. Call for information on how to save on your home or business long-distance car. Enjoy West Virginia Motor Speedway hospitality even more with a comfortable overnight accommodations provided by the AmeriHost Hotels. Two of them, one in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and the other just around the corner near the racetrack. Find the AmeriHost in Mineral Wells. Call the number on your screen for information. AmeriHost, the host hotel for Ali Sports Marketing Television Productions team. Hav-A-Tampa Series television schedules across America will be found on the internet at www.asportsnet.com. All rights to this telecast are the property of A Sports Marketing. Your VHS tape copy can be purchased for $19.95 plus shipping, handling, and applicable tax. Call 1-888-TAMPA-00 to order. Hav-A-Tampa Dirt Racing Series television coverage is provided by A Sports Marketing from San Antonio. All television rights reserved. A special thanks to all the folks that helped us out here. Pat Manette Sr., Pat Manette Jr., and of course, Ashley Ness from West Virginia Motor Speedway. For Kevin Billingsley and all the folks on our production team. Thanks for watching. This is Trace Alley. See you next time.